Welcome in, McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, Thursday, September 25th, out here on Jocks. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Getting you set for a big college football weekend. Your feedback, 800-239-9569. You want to get in? 800-239-WJOX. We'll talk Alabama, Georgia. We'll talk Auburn, Texas A&M, LSU, Ole Miss. When you begin to break down Alabama, Georgia, GMAC, where is your focus kind of turned to later in the week? Things that maybe you're paying more attention to now because of going back and looking at different things about these two teams, kind of what they are and how they operate.
Just went back and watched some Tim Keenan cut-ups this week. Spent a little time on him, see how he is going to be able to hopefully neutralize whatever they're going to try to attack Bama with in the run game. I continue to be underwhelmed by Georgia's pass rush. It doesn't mean that you can't wake up in this game, though. I mean, I remember last year being pretty underwhelmed with Georgia in the first 5 or 6 games, and they went to Texas and gave them all they wanted. And I think that's absolutely a possibility. So I think that this is probably going to be Georgia's best performance, probably their most complete performance. But at the same time, I think this Alabama team's a lot better than people probably realize because people are still weighing that first game so heavily when that was kind of an aligning of the stars in perfect chaos. So I feel pretty decent about Bama's matchup in this one, believe it or not. I don't know if you see it similarly.
Do you think Alabama has to, emphasis on has to, run the football to win this game?
No.
Yeah, I don't either. And I keep hearing that. And I keep hearing depends on who runs the ball. If they can run the ball, which team runs the ball better. Bama's got to find the run game. They hadn't found the run game. And it's not the way that I've seen it this year. I'm not saying they haven't had struggles on certain run plays, but I just don't think the dedication has been there. Not saying because they're not going to dedicate themselves or don't want to, but that's not what's presented itself. And maybe people wanted them against, ULM to go out and run the ball 56 times and just prove to folks to say, hey, look, we can do this, and here it is. This is a part of who we are. And there have been plenty of years with certain teams that I've said that I've believed they just can't do it. They're not capable of it. They don't have the bodies. They don't have the mindset. It's a combination of things. But that's not the way I view Alabama this year.
Help me with this. Honest question. When was the last time a team beat Georgia running the football?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, that Alabama team in the SEC championship game, I would say that's the main reason they beat them.
That was explosive plays with J-Mo and like a couple broken coverages, and they turned over Stetson. Like if you went back and watched that game, I don't know if you'd feel as good about the run game until the last 30 minutes of the fourth quarter, which I guess would be the last 7.5 minutes. It really was not it's not an outfit that's going to let you run the football. It ain't happening. It's just not the way it's going to work. I believe me, if there was a way to run the ball in Georgia and beat them, I would try to figure it out. I just don't think it's possible. You're going to have to beat them
you're talking about, I think you're talking about 21. I'm talking about 23.
23. What was the box score?
It was 27-24 Bama, but the game, it wasn't that close. I don't believe. Like it didn't.
23. That's the SEC
That's the game that Tyler Booker had multiple double teams. Proctor had one or two that had guys off the ball. Like they ran for 114 in that game. But I mean, they had 306 total yards. So you can say, it's only 114. It was only 306 yards. Georgia only had 321. Georgia ran for 78. So
correct.
But that was one they leaned on them in that game. I mean, it was dominant at the line of scrimmage. Good Lord, they were 3 of 13 on third down.
I don't disagree with you, but 114 yards. Like if we fast forward to the end of the game, remove the result, and we say Bama ran it 41 times for 114 yards, statistically speaking, in the game again. And part of it, remember, there was like a turnover deep in the red zone. There were a few things in that game, but it'll help me understand this. Like
it's also a dinged up Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey. Don't forget.
Fair, but tell me this: if you go back and look at that game, and if you fast forward to Saturday night at 11 o'clock p.m. and you don't look at the score, you just look at the box score, and you see 64 for 306, 41 for 114. Do you think Bama wins?
Not just off that, no. But if it's this style of football game, I would say that they have a good chance to, or they had a good chance to, because this obviously, I mean, look at the numbers. I mean, Georgia did not pass for a touchdown. Carson Beck only threw for 243. Milroe was 13 of 23. The two teams on third down were both miserable, 4 of 12 and 3 of 13. There was only one turnover combined in the game. So if it's a mega possession being valuable football game that doesn't see a lot of explosive plays, then I would tell you, yeah, I feel great about them winning that game. If it's Georgia-Tennessee from this year, of course, no. I probably wouldn't think that they win that game. I mean, you're looking at Bama's longest play was a 30-yard Milroe run. Longest pass play was 28 yards. Georgia had a 51-yard play and then didn't have another play over 21 yards. So, or 23. There wasn't a lot of explosives in that game. So if it's that style game, then I would say, yeah, I feel great about it. But, of course, we don't know what the style of game is going to be. So if you just looked at that number that way, you would say, yeah, that's probably not great. I mean, that's not going to get it done.
Probably not. That's the thing is I think you can look at it a million different ways and say, all right, well, here's this, here's that, here's what we got here, here's what we got there. I think the way Bama wins this game is to try to manufacture a couple of big plays through the air. I think their receivers are still their best attribute. That core in general is pretty dang sporty. I think you got to hold up in protection. That's paramount. I think you can keep them honest with the run game, but don't expect a bunch of big hitters on the running the football. I think the actual way of creating a lot of their run game will be married up with bubbles, married up with jet sweeps. Like all that stuff will go in the pass category, but that's run game. Jet sweeps, bubbles, little quick screens. That's essentially triple option principles. Like, I think you can get some of that stuff, but you're going to have to win some one-on-ones against the linebackers with that bracket coverage. That's how you beat this team. That's the way I see it. I think the linebackers are great downhill run players and blitzers. I don't think they're great cover guys. That's how I'd attack them. And if you look last year, there were a bunch of times where the running backs were involved in the passing game, touchdown 2, a couple others. Like the running backs had to be involved in the passing game. The good news is Jay Miller's back, and he's excellent in the passing attack.
What do you think the Tennessee game showed that Alabama can definitively take advantage of in the passing game against this Georgia defense for you?
The fact that they have a liability at corner. I mean, pretty simple. Like the liability, there is one. At corner, there is one. Now, people might push back on that. Oh, look how many stars. He's a liability. He's a sophomore and he's a liability. So if I'm attacking him, I'm going right after him all the time. I do think Everett's pretty good on the other side. But I'm going right at the opposite corner. I'm probably trying to target some of the safeties. And I think I can win that battle. I'm sure Bama looks at those corners and they're probably like, yep, you know what? One is real sporty. The other one, we can get after him. At least that's the way I'd approach it. So I think it'd be number 1. I'm going after him. I'm going after number 7. And then I do think that 6 is a solid player. I don't think he's an elite player. I think the corners are a step down, significant step down from what Georgia's had in the past.
So it comes down to, honestly, when you look at it from that perspective, it comes down to Alabama and pass pro, in my opinion. And honestly, I think it's more quick pass pro. Are you getting beat initially? If you can just strain for 2-3 seconds, I think Ty Simpson, we've talked about his timing, his rhythm, his understanding of when the ball needs to get out. I feel like he's improved on that every week. I feel like he had the understanding of it week 1. He just didn't have the time to actually operate it that way. So with all that being said, who's getting to the quarterback for Georgia? We talked about Chris Cole is their leading sack. He leads the team in sacks. He has 2. It's a linebacker. They do not have a defensive lineman that's recorded a sack this year. It's wild to think about that, but it's real. So Yeah, I think it comes down to that. And I think on the flip side, it comes down to that too. Georgia, speaking of liabilities, right tackle is a liability. Pick the number. It doesn't matter. They haven't been able to get guys to the ground. They were fortunate against Tennessee. They got the ball out because Tim Banks felt like he needed to pressure safeties from 15 yards out, and they threw some one-on-ones. Nonsensical in certain ways. Didn't really need it in that game. He probably thought his guys would get there, though. So, who's been the dominant pass rusher for Alabama?
That's a good question.
I don't think there is one. And you get Keenan back and you dent the pocket a little bit, maybe free some things up for a couple other guys.
He's not making an impact though on the pass rush. I mean, I love Tim Keenan, but he ain't a pass rush guy. Like 22 might be your best bet.
Nobody has more than one sack for Alabama. They only have 4 on the year.
Yeah.
So it's that to me is the key. Either one of these two coordinators designing some things that get home, forcing these offensive lines to make some mistakes to where you can quickly get home or quickly affect the quarterback, and you got to get them into mistakes. You got to force either Ty Simpson or Gunnar Stockton into mistakes. And then a little bit what we talked about with Jackson Arnold last week, Greg, if Alabama is getting home or having some success rushing the passer, then it's Gunnar Stockton's decision-making. Because if it's quick and definitive, he can make you pay for that. If it's trying to make a play live forever and, doing 360s in the pocket and trying to go laterally, that can be a problem.
Yes. What do you think of Georgia's wideouts against Bama's corners?
I think Georgia's wideouts are good enough to win. I think Bama's corners are solid, but I still think collectively, how many people have you heard this season, even this offseason, talk about how talented that group is? There's not a lot of people that are on board with this receiver room is really good. You and I have been on London Humphreys for a while, and I know that he hasn't had the opportunity to really prove himself in this uniform, in this offense, but the kid can make plays. And if he does get some opportunities.
I don't know what their holdup is with him. I still don't get it.
We'll ask Roddy DeBulsey after the first break, but there's something is there. And I'll say this. I didn't think Zachariah Branch was going to be as good of a pass catcher as he's been for Georgia. I thought he was going to be more of a trinket guy where, give him a jet sweep, force him a screen. Okay, we take a shot or two of him every game because people are going to be scared of the speed. They got to play off on him or at least get some safety help. He's actually catching the football better than I didn't view him as a receiver coming into this. I just viewed him as a speed guy, but he's doing a much better job. He was a little inconsistent at USC catching the ball. He's been great. And then you got a big target in Noah Thomas, who, once again, hadn't found a lot of targets this year. Colby Young, not as big as Noah Thomas, but similar down the sideline. We've seen Dylan Bell play great football. The tight end room is exceptional. So I think they should be able to get wins. But as you know, it's not going to be as much man. It's going to be more zone, and are they going to be able to find their spots? And how does Gunnar Stockton approach that? Can he win? A lot of the deep throws against Tennessee were in man. So that's going to be an interesting part of kind of how this one plays out, where it goes, what it looks like. I'm excited about that game. It's going to be a fun game in general. And you guys should be excited about train because this is the time of year that you're probably running your AC during the day and the heat at night. That stress on your home comfort systems, why you need a Train. They've been America's most trusted brand 11 consecutive years. You can count on the reliability of a Train to keep your home and family comfortable for years to come. Find out more at Train.com. It's hard to stop a train. All right, when we come back, Roddy DeBulsey covers the Georgia Bulldogs. He'll break this game down further with us next on Jocks. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 7:17, Thursday, September 25th, right here on Jocks. Keep it locked online, jocksfm.com. The app is in your app store, iPhone, Android. You can download that for free. Listen on the go. That'll direct you to the YouTube page. Search Jocks945 to watch the show every day right there. Also, tell your home smart speaker to enable the Jock skill.
He's the GMC Dealer of the Year, the national champion of GMC dealers. Always grateful to the experience I have when I've gone up there. I'm a repeat customer. I think you will be too. Take the short drive up to Coleman. You'll see what I'm talking about. I-65, exit 310, Highway 31. The deals on the lot are off the charts good. That's why they continue to get 75% repeat business year over year, because everybody acknowledges that the deals are unbeatable and the service and the experience is second to none. So go take the short drive up to Coleman. You'll be glad you did. Get yourself a GMC Sierra 1500 SLT. They'll get you $15,000 off the sticker price. Get you around $53,335. Deal like that you won't find anywhere else. So go take the short drive up to Coleman. You'll be glad you did. You can also shop online. Have it delivered right to your driveway at Bill Smith Buick, GMC.com.
All right, let's go to the Higginbotham hotline. Roddy Nabulsi covers the Georgia Bulldogs. You can find him on Twitter at Roddy Nabulsi. We were talking London Humphreys in the first segment. I don't know where you are on him, Roddy. Greg and I have been high on him for a couple of years. And for whatever reason in Athens, it hadn't gotten going. I do believe I heard some issues with drops when he first got there. I don't know if that was spring or early in the fall, whatever it was. But he seems to make plays. We know the Tennessee play was massive. Why can he not get going further in this offense?
Well, it's tough when you've got a guy like Colby Young on the other side and then Zach Brandt. So it's a part of it's competition. A part of it was drops. Georgia led the nation in drops last year, and he was definitely part of that. And then even at the beginning of the Tennessee game, he had a drop early. And I turned to Coach Don, and, we do a watch-along show where everybody tunes in and watches us on a second screen. And I'm like, Coach, they need to pull him. He had a fumble last week, and now he's dropping balls. This game's too important. And Coach, of course, he's in the College Football Hall of Fame because you stick with him. He can make plays. We've seen him make plays. You don't pull a guy just after, one or two bad plays. And me, I'm Joe fan. I'm impatient, and I'm like, kind of grumbling over there. And then sure enough, he makes the game-winning catch, or at least game-tying catch. And, luckily Coach didn't rub it in my face like he could have. But that's the thing. London is, when he came in from Vanderbilt, he was very sure-handed, and he's had a couple of yips, he's had a couple of mess-ups, but now he's kind of rounding out into his own. He's in tough competition with the other guys, and I think that London Humphreys is going to be he's going to be fine. If you guys remember, Ladd McConkey had drops. There was one year where he had 3 or 4 drops in just a couple games, and it looked like it's like what's Ladd going through? Well, I think London Humphreys has gone through that and he's come out the other side, and I think he's going to make some big plays for Georgia against Alabama.
Oh, I think he's a great player. I think he might not necessarily be the juice that Arian Smith has, but I'd take him over Arian Smith all day and twice on Sunday.
Yeah.
Just, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like they've kind of been they've been infatuated with juice and not so much with production, and I think it's hurt them a bit. However, the juice this year has been pretty good. However, the juice off the edge, not so good. Where's the pass rush, and why is it that they've been struggling so much getting home?
Well, I asked the exact same question, and Kirby mentioned it on Monday. So, against Tennessee, they're really gashing you on first down. They were very seldom in a third down or any type of show pass situation. There just weren't that many opportunities. Against Alabama last year, they actually got to McElroy, but they couldn't bring him down. They literally missed or bounced off of him or couldn't contain him. In the first 2 games, though, there just weren't that many opportunities. When you're playing, Austin Peay and Marshall, and they're getting 55 plays, and they know that you're coming, so they're just catching and throwing. So there just hasn't. I mean, and I'm just talking about it from a statistical standpoint. There just haven't been as many opportunities to show all those sack numbers. From an effective analytical standpoint, they just, your best pass rusher is starting at Missouri. When Damon Wilson transferred. Quintavious Johnson, this is his first year out there. Gabe Harris, this is his first year getting a lot of snaps. They're not getting through. They're not coming off the edge. But keep an eye on Chris Cole. That's a guy who they're kind of using him as that Jalen Walker type guy You can play him inside, then you roll him to the outside. He's part of that Jaguar package they bring in on third down. And I think if anybody's going to get to Ty Simpson or, actually affect the play, and against this offense, they do actually set up with the longer drops. They do. It is obvious passing play, and you're not having to fight so much against the run, which definitely Georgia lined up to stop Tennessee's run first. So against Ty Simpson, this will be the real test, or I shouldn't say the real test, the real revealing point. Kirby says they have guys who can get home. He says that they can affect plays, they can make sacks, but they just haven't had, they haven't played a scheme that had a lot of those opportunities in it. Well, this is the scheme, Kirby. So if you don't have any sacks after this one, I think you're just going to have to say, look, we are loft, LOFT, lack of freaking talent. So I just don't know that they have the elite guys, but we'll find out after this week's game.
Do you feel like that forces Glenn Schumann to be more creative, more aggressive, more bodies around the line of scrimmage, potentially more that are dedicated to a pass rush in this game against Alabama, not necessarily having that confidence in the front four or five, however they mix it up?
He's going to have to do something because does he have any confidence in his secondary? That secondary is not good. You saw that against Tennessee. You weren't really worried about it against Marshall and Austin Peay, but against Tennessee, you were exposed. You've got three corners, two of which are not that I said they're liabilities, but they haven't exactly done their side of the job. Dalen Everett's doing fantastic. I mean, he's great on the deep routes. You can kind of get him on slants, and hitches and stuff like that. But down the field, Harris and Ellis Robinson, they're just getting torched. So Glenn Schumann's got to think, well, my secondary is not helping my front guys because they can't cover as well. So I only have one safety. They brought in three transfer safeties. None of them played last week. So you basically have KJ Bolden back there trying to cover two spots. So the secondary is kind of weak, but now you're like, well, what do we do with our front guys? So your linebackers are great against the run, but they're not great against coverage. So your front seven, you're like, we can stop the run. If we can't get to the quarterback, those guys can't cover. So yeah, we're going to have to do something schematically to bring some heat on this guy because you can't rely on your cornerbacks on an island like Kirby likes to do. It's just they can't do it. So I'm with you there. I think we could see Glenn Schumann. He's going to have to dial something up this week because any confidence you had in your secondary should have blown away last week with Joey Aguilar just torching them.
How do we feel about the offensive line and the right side of the offensive line in particular? Do we have an update on Gaston? Is he a go? Ernest Green, how's his back? Like, is he a go? What's the deal?
Ernest Green is probably not going to play. We heard that yesterday, and then when the availability report came out, he was listed as questionable. So Ernest Green, from what I'm hearing, will not play. The interesting thing is Juan Gaston wasn't on it at all. So that's bodes well for Georgia. Also, I think he moves over to right tackle. I mean, he hasn't played there this year, but he is, and I hate to use terms like generational talent. It's overused, but he's good. He's what you wanted when you had a Broderick Jones, when you had a Marius Mims, when you had an Andrew Thomas, you had a guy, the minute you saw him, you're like, oh, okay, this kid can play. So he started out at guard because you had Ernest Green. Now that Ernest Green's out, you move him out to tackle, and you put in Dontrell Glover, who he graded out okay. He had some misses against Tennessee, but Dontrell Glover could play that right guard spot. And if you think about it, that gives them two true freshmen on that right-hand side, which is scary for now. But if they can hold up, especially against a team like Alabama, where would you be at the end of the year? Where will you be next year with, three of your top 10 guys are true freshmen? Yeah. And offensive line is tough. Georgia lost four of them to the NFL. You see Tate Ratledge is absolutely destroying people. Jared Wilson's playing well. They have Dylan Fairchild's playing well. A lot of guys in the NFL, so you're having to completely rebuild that offensive line. And then you have two of them go down to injuries. I don't want to be in Stacey Searles' room this time of year because it is just it's a mash unit. You need medics everywhere.
Cole will go in there for you. Cole will go in there for you and make sure everything's all up to speed.
I don't know if I want to go in there this year, to be honest with you.
It is kind of crazy, though. I feel like Georgia's offensive line forever was such a strength in the last couple of years for whatever reason, just hasn't been. It's wild.
Well, think about it. You have 4. If I told you before last season that you were going to have 4 offensive linemen drafted, and that's rare. Getting 1 or 2 guys is big, but to have 4 of them on one line, you would say, well, this is going to be a national championship team. They're going to be able to run the ball. They're going to be able to give the quarterback. You're going to give Carson back all day to throw. Hey, you're national champs. They were so injured and so beat up last year that they couldn't run the ball, and Carson Beck got hit a lot. So, it's just crazy to see how well those guys are doing in the NFL, knowing that you had them all here last year and you couldn't get anything done. And this year, you're like, okay, we got new guys. We're going to bring them in. And after the first quarter of the first game, your entire right side is gone. It's like, I mean, a lot of Georgia fans hate Stacey Searles. They blame him for a lot of things. I think that some of the issues, I mean, he definitely has some, but also some of that goes back to Matt Luke when he was here. But the point is, it's injuries. When you have that many at one specific area, you just feel like, are you cursed? I don't know what it is.
It's wild to think about and crazy. What do you think decides this game? Greg and I hit that in the first segment. Just kind of what we think it comes down to based on what we've seen from these teams so far. I do think there are still some unknowns with both, but what's ultimately the deciding factor here?
I think it's going to come down to special teams or a turnover. I don't like Georgia's defense. I'm worried about them against Alabama. I'm not high on Alabama's defense against Georgia. I think Georgia can move the ball. I think Georgia can run the ball. Who gets an extra series of downs? Who makes their field goals? I think it's going to be that close of a game, and one turnover here or there. I mean, it's the reason why everybody was so mad at Gunnar Stockton through the first 2 games. He wasn't throwing the ball very far. He was doing check downs. He was being ultra conservative with the conservative game plan that Kirby Smart likes. He doesn't like to put out a lot. He doesn't want to go up 70-0 on a team. He doesn't like to air it out against inferior competition. They don't play down their competition. They just don't go hard against them. And they like to bring in other guys and build that depth that you're going to need when you have all these injuries. But I think Gunnar Stockton was like, okay, I'm the guy now. And all I've heard for 9 months from Kirby Smart is do not turn his football over. Do not take a chance with his football. And I think that just made him be a little more conservative, tuck it, run it, or, dump it down. And then when he was told to finally cut it loose against Tennessee, you saw that. So I could see Kirby Smart's, his number one priority is not giving the Ty Simpson an extra set of downs. And if Georgia's defense can somehow get a fumble, strip sack, interception, and give Georgia's offense one more set of downs, one more drive, I think that determines the outcome of the game.
Interesting. I feel like there was a dude on the show that kind of laid that out for folks and how difficult that can be as a quarterback sometimes playing for a defensive-minded coach, and it can make things complicated. But hey,
and how playing for an offensive-minded coach would be really fun. But it's also fun to win. So you got to take the good in with the bad.
Roddy, great stuff, man. Thanks for hopping on with us. It's gonna be a fun game. Enjoy it. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks for having me, guys. Take care.
There you go. Roddy Nabulsi joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. It's walking hand in hand down the path in which you described, Greg, what Roddy's saying right there for Gunnar Stockton early in this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's tale as old as time. Defensive coaches not understanding how to deal with quarterbacks sometimes, like not understanding the best way to get the best out of your quarterback. And it doesn't make him bad. It's just a different philosophy, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different philosophy. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like Gunnar Stockton got Sabaned a little bit there in the first couple games, just being told, don't screw it up, don't screw it up, don't screw it up. So It's a hard thing to do, hard thing to play well when it goes like that.
Absolutely. All right, so we'll continue that conversation. We'll hear from Kalen DeBoer and Kirby Smart when we come back next right here on Jocks. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in. 7:35 Thursday, September 25th, right here on Jocks, jocksfm.com, where you can get us online. Podcasts are going to be there. Also, search Jocks945 on YouTube. Watch us live each and every morning. Kalen DeBoer on that Georgia run game that hasn't necessarily gotten going this year, but looks like it still could be dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a physicality that comes with their style of play. I think they continue to do a really good job of mixing up the concepts, the schemes, the window dressing, and then you add Gunnar Stockton into the mix with, his timely keeps, his ability to, keep plays alive on pass plays, and so it's certainly something you gotta be ready for.
All right, that's Kalen DeBoer on the Georgia run game. One other thing Kalen DeBoer thinks could be a little bit trickier, third downs when the Crimson Tide has the ball. Here he is on that Georgia third down defense.
Yeah, and it's everything from the back end and coverages to, the pressures they want to run. And so just, great scheme and foundation to start with, but then, they always do a great job of really dialing into how they want to attack you. And so, we got to do the same. We got to do a good job of getting what we want and attacking back. And so that's always been our mindset, and that's what we want to focus on. But obviously, we got to be ready for a lot of different things as we prepare for Saturday.
Part of this is going to be situationally, Greg, but you would imagine, depending on hash, on yard line, on situation, down distance, whatever it is, but when Georgia's able to, probably going to want to load up on that right side of the offensive line, at least show potential extra pressure there to get some attention over there and free some guys up on the rest of the four.
One thing that's changed a little bit, and you know this as well as anybody, and we've talked about this with Dusty, we talked about this earlier this year. One thing that I think is something to keep in mind in this game is that you have a new rule that was instituted, a new rule that is now going to force Georgia to no longer do their, quote, move calls, right? Move.
Yep.
And the defense shifts. They used to do that almost all the time on 3rd and 2. Like 3rd and 3 or less, you're getting a move call.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, hold on. Explain that to folks what it is before we keep going.
So there is now a disconcerting signals rule that applies to the defense. That's a new rule this year. You cannot have an orchestrated move call on the defensive side, or it results, I believe, in defensive delay of game, correct? That's what delay of game is how they're enforcing it. So that's new this year. And Georgia, I think, is the primary culprit. It's not dirty. It's a little hairy high school, but it also is very effective, especially on the road. So at Georgia, your offense is on the field, and Georgia in 3rd and 3. So it's a run pass down. You have your whole playbook available to you. All of a sudden, Georgia goes, move! And all the players slide down in coordinated fashion. Your offensive lineman, probably, what'd you say, 60% of the time they jump?
It's tough to hold your water there. It is.
It's so hard. So all of a sudden, you go from 3rd and 3 to 3rd and 8, and that completely changes your offensive plan. So the fact that that's no longer allowed is pretty big in this game because of how many false starts and pre-snap penalties Bama's had on the road, how challenging that's been at times for them. It's been used against them in the past, and I think in this particular case, it's going to be very, very important for them to stay on schedule throughout the game.
Yeah, it's so as an offensive lineman, you come up and then what Greg's describing is that move call happens and everybody shifts over one gap, or everybody's head up and they move to the gap to either the right or to the left. And one, it's orchestrated, it all happens at once, so it appears even more sudden than it is. And two, you get it's verbalized, as Greg just stated at the same time, which depending on what your snap count is or how you're operating with it or what you're doing, that can become very confusing as well. And you kind of sit back and you can work it in practice, but as you just stated, Greg, with crowd noise and guys moving around, you're trying to focus on who's lined up where, what potential pressures could be coming, if they're going to slant, stunt, and things get discombobulated in a hurry. I'm with you. I didn't think it was kind of high school Harry. I thought it was very high school Harry. I thought it was kind of weak, to be honest with you. And it was very strategic. I've heard members of the staff try to deny that it's strategic. I don't know how you can even pretend like it's not. They knew what they were doing. And it's something from a third down perspective, short yardage perspective, that I think will aid Alabama now that rule is in place. It's not just Alabama; it's anybody Georgia's playing against. That you just don't have to worry about that. They don't have to waste practice reps on that. They don't have to spend a lot of time on it, and it'll benefit them for sure. So you move on from that. Not going to have to deal with it. Not going to have to worry about it. Just like if you need some jewelry, you don't have to worry about where you're going to decide to go for that one either. GMAC, it's easy.
Yep, Bromberg's has you covered. It's awesome to know just how well they're going to take care of you. I'm always grateful to the experience that I have when I walk in the door at Bromberg's. They do such a great job. And I think you'll understand exactly why I've been going there for forever. The second you walk in the door and make a purchase of your own, you go and take a peek at it, man. It's amazing. And right now, too, it's a great time to go to Bromberg's. They have the jewelry buyback event, which is awesome. 2 days only. Thursday and Friday, October 7th and 8th at the Summit. You can sell your diamonds, jewelry, watches, even silver flatware for immediate payment, or you can get 120% of your offer in Bromberg store credit. So with nearly 190 years of trusted expertise, Bromberg's makes the process easy, transparent, and secure. Don't wait. Appointments fill up fast. Call Bromberg's at the Summit today.
All right, so plenty more to discuss on this game. Kirby Smart discussing what he sees from Ryan Grubb and the Alabama offense.
They're very efficient. They're playing at a high level. I think he's gotten really comfortable with Ty, quarterback, and timing of throws, the vision and awareness of coverage, the ability to run the ball and set up shots off of play action, package plays. They do a good job of setting up plays in terms of what they carry for that game complements the formations. They're not predictable within what they do, and they balance you up with a good bit of tempo, and they make you defend the whole field vertically and horizontally. They do a good job.
Yeah, I love what he said there about the formations, Greg, because it's the exact opposite about the LSU conversations we've been having. And that is, you don't look at the formations that Ryan Grubb presents and say, all right, we can get about a 60 to 70% guess rate and be correct on this of what potential runs are coming at us right now. And that's not a great place to be as an offense. Don't like that.
No, and the hard thing is too, when you kind of look at everything that they can throw at you, it's very, very challenging to acknowledge, hey, the misdirection, the sideline to sideline. If you look last year, it was a lot of sideline to sideline that really got them committing some eye violations. They gashed them with some quarterback run. Now, I don't think that quarterback run's going to be a huge part of the plan, but that'll be interesting to see how much that's utilized. Like I'm really looking forward to this matchup from an XO standpoint, because I think it's really good coaches going against each other.
It's going to be fun. We'll discuss it a little bit more on the other side and begin to dive into Texas A&M and Auburn. What does Hugh Freeze have to say about this Aggie defense? You'll hear from him next on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, Thursday, September 25th, 7:47 right here on Jocks. Tonight, you've got Army at ECU, 6:30 on ESPN. Army at 1-2, ECU at 2-2. And then you've got the Seahawks at Cardinals, 7:15 on Prime. Both those teams 2-1 tonight. Some NFL action, some college football action. Tomorrow night, actually a pretty good Friday night when you begin to look at it. We'll preview them a little bit more during the show. But Florida State's at Virginia. Remember, that's a 3-1 Virginia now with Chandler Morris at quarterback. So they're a little bit of a different football team. Josh Hoover and TCU, 3-0. They're at Arizona State tomorrow night. Arizona State's 3-1. And then you'll get Houston at Oregon State, which from the Houston side of things, pretty good, 3-0. Oregon State 0-4. Not so great tomorrow night. But a massive slate on Saturday. And Auburn and Texas A&M, one that we haven't really had a chance to take a dive into just yet. Billy Lucci is going to join us at 9:15. The coach, William Sanderson, with us at 9. Spend a little bit of time on that matchup now. First, Hugh Freeze, the difference that he sees between the Texas A&M defense and the Oklahoma defense.
You would say that they are a lot more just, we're going to play base defense with great technique until third down, and we're really, really good at it, which they are. Having an open week before us and time to do other things, do they have the capability of doing more stuff like Oklahoma did? I'm quite sure they do. Mike Elko's an incredible defensive mind. But, I mean, to this point, they're just really dang good at – they're one of those teams where we can get in 4 down and we can play our base defense, and our guys can put hands on you and play our gaps and not have to muddy the picture as much as some others may have done, if that makes sense. Not that they can't, but they haven't had to, and they've had great success doing what they do.
So that's Hugh Freeze on the Texas A&M defense and the differences that they'll get from what they had against Oklahoma. Also on the level of defense that he's getting from his guys currently.
Well, they played really well at Oklahoma. I mean, our special teams were, atrocious, truthfully, and really accounted for 12 points, and then put our offense in bad spots 3 times, and the most critical of which, we get a possession to go and win the game, and we have to start it at the 5-yard line because of a sloppy penalty on kickoff return. And that's not winning football, and it really, really hurt our defense a few times and our offense. But I thought our defense played at a high level and well enough for us to win an SEC road game, and hopefully that can continue. This test this week will be a tougher test because I think A&M is much more balanced than Oklahoma offensively, and make you defend more things. So this will be our biggest test to this point in the year.
And this is an interesting one that I think people probably need to hear, because we're going to have a conversation about it. And I was asked about it yesterday. I was speaking to some journalism students down at Auburn, I think 3 different times. We weren't even talking about actual football, but I was asked about the Auburn offensive line. And Hugh Freeze discussing the cleanup process with that group, what it needs to be, what it could be.
You can't take those sacks and win games, and even with all of that, we still have a chance to win the game if we make a few plays here and there and don't get some. We had some very difficult breaks go against us, but we've got to clean up the protection of the pocket. Jackson's got to clean up when he can get rid of the ball, get rid of it, which was some of the time too. So it's a mixture, but no question we've got to improve in pass pro.
So they do need to improve in pass pro, Greg. But the more I've gone back to look at it, and the more I think people have asked me about it and maybe forced me to explain it, I'm not saying I'm super confident in the offensive line. We thought they were going to be improved this year. The tackles in pass pro have had real problems consistently. Now, right guards missed one. I think Connor Lew, he lost a one-on-one to a blitzing linebacker at one point, but it hasn't been a consistent issue with the middle 3. But the tackles have been, and that is what is most concerning for me in this game because of what Texas A&M offers up in one-on-ones off the edge.
Fair. And Jackson holding the ball. And some coverages that will be a little dicey from time to time. Like, the thing that made playing against Oklahoma difficult was not their coverage scheme. Their coverage scheme is very simple. It's not that difficult. Their pressure scheme is challenging, which is why it was even more troubling to see Jackson Arnold hold the football. I mean, their pressure scheme with their loops and their movement and their twists and their TTs and their stuff like that, that's what's dicey about playing Oklahoma. It's not the coverages. They're pretty basic. Frankly, they get some cover two, you get some quarters, you get a little man, you get a bunch of two-man. Like, there's a decent amount of stuff like that. But other than that, man, it's not like that exotic. So you're going to see a little bit more from an exotic standpoint in coverages with combo coverages. You're going to have some more intentional blitzes that will catch you off guard. Whereas against Oklahoma, you got to be prepared for blitz on every snap. Against A&M, not quite as heavy a percentage, but you're still going to get quite a bit as well. It's just going to be a little more edge.
Yeah, and let me clarify. It's not that I don't think that Texas A&M has the bodies to be problematic inside. I definitely do. It's just some of the edge guys you're going to get. If you're stuck in one-on-ones there, it's chances are you're not going to succeed on a consistent basis. I'll just put it that way. They've had a lot of success being able to be problematic there, specifically Cassius Howell, who's got great length, great speed, great bend. He's a problem. But they do have, Sam Impinda has been pretty good inside. He's somebody who I think can also be problematic. Ryan Kennedy kind of moves around a little bit, does some different things. So you've got bodies in different spots that can offer you different things. Like Albert Regis, more of a bigger body inside, but he can get a good push at times. It's a tough defensive line. And I think because we just raved about it so much last year, we've maybe lost a little bit of sight of how good it is this year. But it's a group that can offer some issues, and the Auburn offensive line just flat got to be better. But having said that, Jackson Arnold has to be better, Greg, with how he operates.
Correct.
And the things that he does in the pocket, how long he holds the football, and when he lets go of the football.
I do think that that's another angle of this that is worth acknowledging, is that you have a scenario where Jackson now is probably being told all week, like, hey, dude, you got to get the ball out. So now he's going to try to get the ball out, and it's going to lead to more possibilities for confusion and more possibilities for interceptions. Like, Hugh was telling him this week, like, you tell him, how would you handle Jackson this? Hey, you got to get the ball out, dude. So guess what? Jackson now is going to be thinking, I got to get the ball out. I got to get the ball out. And he might make some bad decisions. And this is not the group that you want to do that against, because they're going to have some bait and switch coverages. Like, that's the only thing that concerns me about that messaging this week. Whereas I'd rather take a sack than throw it to him. And I think that the likelihood of throwing it to him at A&M is a lot higher than the likelihood of throwing it to Oklahoma, is based on how things have gone for them this season. Do you see it the same way? Yeah,
and I think that begins to come down to mixed messaging. And you can speak to this more so as a quarterback, but that messaging probably needs to be consistent every week. And now when you place the emphasis on somewhere else, that takes away from your focus on progressions. That takes away your focus on what protection to get into. That takes away from maybe trying to see things pre-snap that you need to get to or don't need to worry about getting to, because just get the ball out, get the ball out, get the ball out. You go to the line of scrimmage and you're telling yourself something. That's why when we talk about, is it mental that offensive linemen jump off sides? Yeah, because you're going to the line of scrimmage saying, don't jump, don't jump, don't jump, don't jump. Hold your water, hold your water, hold your water, hold your water. And then you either do jump or you get smoked in pass pro because you're off slow. It's a consistent message that needs to happen from snap to snap. And when you change that, that's where things get discombobulated.
Yeah.
We got more time to talk about it on the other side. We'll do it for the next hour. 800-239-9569 if you want to get in. 205-834-9450. We'll focus in on college football. Get your thoughts on any that you want to discuss next right here on Jocks.